Hi, this is James Salter, Senior Vice President of Marketing for AVer Information Inc. Recently, I had the privilege of hosting a panel discussion with Ilya Bukshteyn, General Manager for Microsoft's Teams devices, and our own Harvell, Director of Product Marketing for AVer Information Inc. and video conferencing. Our discussion centered around video collaboration. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, hey, welcome everyone. We have a quick discussion coming up with a couple of my guests here. I'd like to introduce you first of all to Ilya Bukshteyn, General Manager for Microsoft Teams devices. Welcome, Ilya.
Thank you, James. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And I'd also like to welcome Harvell, Director of Product Marketing for AVer Information Inc. and video conferencing. Welcome, Carl.
Thank you, James. How you doing?
Hey, gentlemen. So thanks for making time for me today. We're just going to have a short discussion here on a topic I think is near and dear to both of our hearts, and that's video collaboration. So as we all know, video collaboration is here to stay and then some. There's multi-locations for work going forward. You can call it hybrid work if you want to, home offices, work offices, conference rooms, and of course on the road. The topics I'm just going to get into are going to involve all those and meeting the new demand for those locations. So first question, in this current climate, what are you each still hearing from your customers about their greatest challenges since moving to nearly 100% video collaboration meetings, and how are you working to address these? Ilya, you want to take it first?
Sure. Again, thanks for the opportunity to chat with you. It's been great to have AVer become part of our certified devices ecosystem for Microsoft Teams Rooms. So although I already said this on LinkedIn, officially welcome. To your question, it's a giant experiment in rapidly evolving how we work that we're all participating in, and I think in this industry trying to help. So I don't want to say that whatever I think is by any means definitive, because it's changing so rapidly as we chat with our customers, as their situation changes. We're going through, I think, 10 years of transformation here in just a couple of years. So far, what we've heard, first of all, is that customers are very focused, and I would say anxious about enabling video collaboration, just to begin with. So I think we've gone through, it'll be, for some companies, 2 years now of most folks working not at the office, and getting that to a productive state has been top of mind. And that includes everything from making sure people have a reliable online meeting service, such as Microsoft Teams, using that service in ways that helps people be productive when we cannot all be in the same place. So turning meetings from this instance of collaboration that then disappears to just a point in time and ongoing collaboration. So adding the capability to have ongoing discussions around documents and PowerPoints and spreadsheets. And a meeting is just when we all happen to come together around that work product. But then we want to capture, much like we're doing now with recording in a transcript that's intelligently generated, we want to capture that collaboration, turn it back into the ongoing process. Then making the online meetings far more inclusive. I think we've all learned etiquette, and the tools help with that, from digital raise hands to digital responses. Certainly, one of the things we've seen is chat become this amazing sort of parallel discussion channel where everybody keeps chat open when we do online meetings. And then closer to my area in devices, I think the thing we've been focused on is giving people the confidence that they're going to look, sound, feel as professional as they want to be. So kind of transitioning from that early, hey, taking a meeting in my messy bedroom and having everyone see that is okay because it's pandemic, to, this now having gone on for so long, people want to look and feel more professional and have the device and the cloud service create background that looks professional, touch up your appearance. Some of us need, like me, need that more than others. Really make sure people can hear you, but not the things that may be happening around you that are distracting. So all of those are very, very important, and we're super thankful for our device partners like yourselves for enabling that. Now, moving forward, what we've seen is slowly and dependent on the geography, some people are starting to come back into offices and into meeting rooms. And there, I think our customers first and foremost, it's actually kind of the same loop. So first and foremost, most meeting rooms are not video enabled. 90% of meeting rooms in the world are not video enabled. So I think we've seen an increasing level of urgency from customers to say we need to accelerate our 5-year plan to video enable every space to be a 1-year plan. And that has deep implications. I think we're going to see customers really evaluate how office space is used. One hypothesis I happen to believe in is we'll see less personal space in offices, because I think we've proven that we can do individual work just as effectively, not in the office. We will see more meeting space. We will see more of every kind of meeting space, formal, informal, ad hoc. And frankly, every meeting space has to be video enabled. So great urgency on that for customers. And then for those spaces that are video enabled, for example, at Microsoft, where all of our rooms are video enabled, there's this next level of thinking about how do you make that space as good as what we've now all become accustomed to, where we are all equal by being remote. And so, we're talking with customers about how they can have an experience that looks more like my background, where there are more human connections, where everyone is included and as equal as possible between remote and in-person attendees, where everyone can participate however they want in the different meeting modalities. So they can see the ongoing chat up on the room. They can participate from a personal device. They can bring in their laptop, turn on personal video if they'd like, and that should be a good experience with the room system. But the room system should also have intelligence so that you don't need to bring in your laptop, and it still will create separate video feeds for every person. So that's the kind of next kind of level discussions we're having with customers. Sorry, I know that was a lot, but there's certainly a lot going on in this space.
No,
That was a
great
good
answer. Great answer.
That was a really good
Yeah.
answer. Yeah, I mean, if I were to kind of just echo what Ilya said, I mean, it from a hardware perspective, we're seeing a lot of customers that are looking to keep the video conferencing experience from, a very well-tuned application at home to the conference room. And so, when people were working from home, when everything first started off with this pandemic, people had to be very dynamic. They had to figure out where to take a video call, whether it's going to be from the kitchen table or from their home office, what angles they're going to use. And I think people got very good at it. You look at a year later, and, even when you look at interviews on television through the news, when it first started off, you could tell that people's images were not that good. Now everybody's looking very sharp in production quality because people are figuring it out. When they go back to the conference rooms at corporate offices, they may have a second generation video conferencing room equipment, and they need to get to something nowadays with crystal clear imaging. But again, like what Ilya was saying, sometimes people don't want to touch stuff now. They want everything kind of automatically cropped and image kind of cleaned up for them. And so that's what we're seeing a lot with a lot of customers. And so with that in mind, the hardware to get everything into conference rooms are something that people are looking into now and figuring out, okay, do we need one camera? Do we need two cameras? Do we have the right angle for the cameras? And, instead of me having to babysit a conference, can my users just go in there, sit down and sit anywhere they want and have the best image to not only look at them, but look at content that might be on a whiteboard?
Great answer too. Let's actually dovetail this into you both kind of touched on conference rooms in the workplace. Medium and large conference rooms can actually sometimes be very tricky to set up. How important is it to install premium cameras and peripherals in large conference rooms? So let's say compare that to, say, a webcam or a built-in laptop camera. Who wants to go first?
I mean, I could kind of go off on that one because that's something that I've been dealing with all last week. I've had a lot of customers that were kind of forced to put in a video conferencing experience in a room that only had a telephone kind of in there, and that's what everybody just knew. And so when you look at large conference rooms, that could easily go one person be at the end of the table. That could very well be 60 feet away, or it could be up to 20 people in the table. And you want to ensure that not only can everybody be seen, but if one person is talking at the end of the table and or another person is talking at the front of the table, they get captured, and the far end will be able to not only see them but see help measure the mood of the meeting. And so, with one great thing about working with Microsoft is that they have not only solutions for large conference rooms, but a certification program that validates equipment works well in those conference rooms. And so when you look at large conference rooms, like I said before, it can be very dynamic. In a small focus room like the one I'm in right now, I could only move so many places. Only 2 people could probably fit in here. But like I said, if you go to a large conference room, sometimes you need a camera that could optically zoom in. Sometimes you need speaker phones to ensure that the microphone is less than 10 feet away. So, and that the speaker is also kind of close, so you have great sound reinforcement. So it's definitely, in order to reduce meeting fatigue, to not strain to see somebody who might be very far away. They're like, are they pointing at something, or what are they writing on the whiteboard? Sometimes you need cameras that could do the right job for the right equipment.
Yeah, if I can add to that, you start with audio. There are very few laptops. Laptops have become much better at capturing audio of the one person sitting in front of the laptop. Having dual mics, helps with that. But that is what they're tuned for, with very few exceptions. There are very few laptops, I know of maybe one model, that has multiple microphones that are capable of actually capturing multiple people sitting around the laptop, including on the back of, behind the lid, so to speak. So every space needs some sort of audio device, whether it's a peripheral or a room system, if you're going to have multiple people in it. Then to your point, James, about the challenges with larger rooms, in many ways, a smaller room initially is going to have a better hybrid experience because you're going to be able to see the 2 or 3 people sitting there, even with a regular non-AI camera. As soon as you go to larger rooms, there are all sorts of non-inclusive, tough, rough edges, if you will. If I get up and go to the analog whiteboard, I'm completely excluding the people on the other side who are not in the room, unless the room system has a way of capturing that analog whiteboard as content. You don't want to capture it as video because then you don't see the people in the room. And so even if you have kind of old-fashioned PTZ and you sort of move to show the whiteboard, well, now you don't see the people. So with Teams Rooms, we introduced this concept of a content camera with AI processing, where you can have a dedicated camera pointed at the analog whiteboard, share that as content, process it so it sharpens lettering, even makes any person that stands in front of it look transparent with our segmenting technology. But as Carl, as you said, even more basic, being able to see people so that they're not just 2 dots from the God view, if you will, at the end of the table. Being able to have a sense of who's speaking, so having a more natural interaction. And that is what we are working on. We sort of see a good, better, best future. We're going to do our best for rooms that are equipped with, let's say, today's cameras, so that if people bring in a laptop, turn on their video, will do things like not put your video on the front of room from your laptop, so you're not sort of staring at yourself, and have automatic proximity detection. So we tell you to turn on with audio off, but suggest video on, and so forth. And so that's going to be a good experience, but we want to make that better so that people really have a choice of what modalities they use on their personal devices. And that means using AI with smarter hardware. So having cameras that identify people, that have, for lack of a better word, a virtual director built in, so you get a more cinematic view of who's talking. In Teams, we have support for getting multiple people feeds from those cameras. So in fact, the camera can frame people's faces and send them to us, and we'll give everybody their own square of video as if we are, all equal today. And in the future, we envision things like anyone should be able to raise hand in the room, and we can say that there's a raise hand gesture. If people want to share and enroll their biometrics with us, today we have what's called intelligent speaker. So if I enroll my voice in transcription, we'll separate the speakers, which makes the transcription dramatically better to read instead of one run-on paragraph. But we'll also identify Ilya said, Carl said, James said. In the future, we'll be able to also have people, if they wish, with full Microsoft 365 compliance, also enroll their video. So not only if you're in a room and you have an AI-driven camera with Teams Rooms, not only will you have your square video, but that'll have a name under it. If you raise hands, we'll say Ilya raised hands. If you, give an OK sign, or a thumbs up, we'll do a thumbs up reaction. So those are the kinds of things that we are trying to do to have a path for people from today to a future where, like I said, everyone feels included. And certainly it's more challenging in larger rooms, but I'm pretty excited about what we can do together with hardware partners like yourselves.
Yeah, excellent. Actually, you kind of tapped into some subjects I wanted to ask next, actually, on the future, because that's actually like the cool and fun stuff too. So what does the future really hold? We can think of long-term future too, for newer technologies. And we touched on things like AI or even IoT. How can we kind of harness those technologies to provide, better, more automated, or even more personalized experiences, both from the presenter's view and for the meeting participants? And, kind of like maybe different perspectives here from Microsoft and from AVer, what is your own company doing in these areas? So Ilya, why don't you pick up where you left off?
Sure. So I think fundamental to this is AI. All of the devices in the room, from the edge, the camera, the speakers, the mics, to the brain, the compute, will over time gain dedicated, neural processing units, the AI right on the chip. And we're going to make full use of that. So we are planning to have AI on the edge, on the in-room compute, in our media stack, and in the cloud, and be able to balance where all of that is best processed. So today, for example, we have together mode, where we use AI processing in the cloud to bring everyone together in a virtual space, and you can even customize that space. So it could be around the table, it could be in an auditorium, whatever works best. That's just one example today. I think moving forward, I'm very excited about what we can do building on, as I said, intelligent speakers, where we start to identify people in a room, to having more intelligent cameras, where we can frame individual people, we can identify the active speaker, we can create more cinematic effects as the interaction in the room happens. Including if someone gets up to go to the whiteboard, without even having to take an action, we can frame the analog whiteboard and create a content feed. We can identify people using a combination of video and audio biometrics if they're willing to enroll. We can do gesture recognition. I think there's so much more that we can do once we have that processing. So very, very much looking forward to it. Internally, we are actively trialing AI-enabled intelligent speakers, cameras in rooms, and getting some really good experiences from that.
Great.
Just
Carl,
and just
your
to kind
perspective?
of, yeah, it's. I mean, everything Ilya said is it's awesome because it's the stuff that we're working in conjunction together. Like what he was saying, there's a lot of processing that takes place in getting the crop view for people and feeding that information back to the cloud for teams. That takes a lot of processing power, not only on the edge, but you don't want to bog down the compute that's in the conference room. And so that's where a camera would be able to come in play and help process all that information. But it's important for the end user to be able to enjoy a video conferencing experience without stressing over moderating the meeting, over having to ensure that he's framed up or correctly, or that she wants to make sure that everybody's in view for the conference room. When people walk into a room, they want to be able to focus on their meeting and worry about the content for their meeting, and or ensure everybody within the conference room is doing their jobs correctly and not worrying about the technology. And so, when I was first in with the video conferencing industry over 23 years ago, the real important meetings, they would have somebody dedicated there just to manage the meeting. They would have someone there to move the camera, to drive the slides, to ensure that nothing broke. And for the real important meetings, they would have somebody right outside that would just sit just in case something happened. Now, fast forward to today, a lot of those tasks can happen through the compute, and it's not just reserved for board meetings. It's for regular marketing meetings, regular sales meetings. That kind of technology where AI could actually drive the cropping and ensuring that the framing is all set up correctly. That's it's invaluable for the end user. But when we talk about feature of enabling sensors and reporting back information, I think the biggest one to gain would be the IT architects. Because right now, the way we're doing things, like what Ilya was talking about with gesture control, we're setting up gesture control on our cameras so you could actually frame things up correctly. You could open your hand, close your hand to zoom in, zoom out. And I don't know if you've ever set up a large conference room and you don't have the controller with you because it's somewhere else, and you're like, oh man, I got to go and zoom this up and I want to set this preset. To be able to do it with gesture controls will be a heck of a lot easier. Being able to enforce a social distance policy by doing a people count, making sure that there's not 10 people inside that small huddle room or focus room. It's invaluable for IT architects to lower the IT administrative overhead. So I think that's where a lot of things are going. Some things are in place right now, but when you look at it 6 months from now, and as people start going back into the office, I think that type of technology is not only going to benefit the end user persona, but the IT architects and the admins.
Yeah, if I can add to that, there's a few things you mentioned that are so important. I'm glad you mentioned them. First of all, PTZ. The PTZ remote in the room is going to go the way of the dinosaur. So remote PTZ remains important for certain industries like healthcare, where you have a doctor who wants to zoom in. But for in the room, the idea that someone's going to go get a remote and sort of futz with the camera, that we can do that, right? We're smarter. We can be smarter than that. So that AI, and then taking that to the next level and adapting it by meeting type. So if we're all sitting around a table sort of discussing, that's a very different type of meeting than when we have a presentation. And so when someone gets up and kind of walks to the screen, if you have two cameras in the room, having the smarts to automatically switch and focus on the presenter, and then segment that presenter so we overlay him on top of the PowerPoint content. That's something we're working on and we think will be very powerful. Also your point about using the smarts in the room to then give more value to IT. Yes, today that's key with social distancing, but it's super valuable long-term beyond that. So we've integrated that with our Teams panels, the panels that go outside of a room. So when I walk up to a room, without having to burst in, I should be able to know how many people are already there. The panel should tell me if it's over the limit set by IT and direct me automatically to the next closest free room, where it will automatically forward the meeting. So I join with one touch. And then long-term, having that information for IT, not just occupancy, but How quickly do meetings start? How many people on average are in that room, and so forth. I think that'll be incredibly valuable. And again, we're very excited about being able to deliver that in Teams based on the capabilities of the camera, the speaker, and the edge devices in the room.
Great. Yeah, great conversation, guys. One thing I hear a lot about is consistency of video experiences. I don't think we've all had the most consistent no matter what we do, but I think that's one thing we're trying to get towards. So for those, AV or IT directors out there listening in, how is Microsoft Teams trying to ensure a consistent video experience across different devices in those multiple locations that we're now working from?
Yeah, boy, I will say I get asked about this or maybe even pushed about this a lot. When I came up with the concept for what is now Teams Rooms, whatever it was, 6 years ago, that was just foundational. And meaning, no matter what hardware you have, who that hardware is from, what OEM, what size of room it is, my goal was to have someone be able to join the meeting and have an awesome experience in less time than it would take to dial a phone number. And the reason I said dial a phone number is because the biggest interface for meetings in the world, I think still, is the phone. The bar is someone coming in, and I don't think it's a great bar, by the way, looking up on their device what the dial-in number is and dialing in. And so I think we've exceeded that with Teams Rooms, but key to that is walking in and knowing exactly what to expect, which is what we have with every Teams Room on the console. Now in the Room Remote app and Teams Mobile, you know exactly what you're going to get, and you don't really have to think twice about the hardware in the room. And I get pushed by this a lot because it's a different model than the traditional VTC model that the big VTC companies, I won't call them out, have. Those same companies have come to us and said, just give us an API. We'll plug you into our UX. People love our UX. And I say, if people love your UX, why are VTCs on average only used 8 hours a month? That's a kind of dirty little secret of the VTC industry. They're complicated. They're not used. So no, I don't think we will, just give you an API. And I think you've seen the rest of the industry go in that direction. Even the VTC folks with their newer devices talk about native cloud experiences. So I do think that's the future. The days of having a different user experience based on what hardware you have in a room, that just didn't work. That's not my opinion. I would point towards usage data and having the same experience based on your primary meeting service has been super well received by users. I do want to acknowledge, though, that customers have also said, hey, occasionally we get an invite from a partner, a vendor, somebody else for a different meeting service, for, if you're a Teams customer, for a Zoom or a WebEx meeting. And so that is why we proactively reached out across the industry to Zoom, to Cisco, and introduced the concept of direct guest join. So the ability to join using web technologies, to join a Zoom meeting, Cisco meeting, soon there'll be others on a Teams room, I think is very important for that, while still having, you don't have to switch apps. Like as a user, that switch apps on a room system concept boggles my mind that other companies would think that's okay. You don't have to go, let's see what app. No, you just join a meeting, one touch join. It starts in that same experience you're familiar with, which is Teams Rooms.
That's definitely an important thing there. I mean, it's interesting you talk about consistent experience there, James, because I mean, when I was working at Intuit one time, we were trying to get everybody onboarded for a new video conferencing service that was coming on, and so they did a heuristics of just conference rooms. Doing a little study. Okay, what could be bad about the conference room? And it wasn't on my department because I was a product manager of IT for video conferencing. It was somebody from the UX, the user experience. And so she went around and did an audit of everything. She came back and one of the biggest complaints was nobody had a chance to create muscle memory. a couple of the conference rooms, some of them had traditional BTC codecs, like Ilya was saying, where they had to use IP addresses for dialing or address books. Other ones had kind of cameras where you could just plug in your own laptop and get things going. But all in all, they said if you go across different campuses, it was almost a different video conferencing experience with different rooms. Now, by the time we got done with the projects, everything got working a lot better, and people were able to establish some muscle memory. But when you look at the way things were, like Ilya was saying, you brought back some bad memories of ISDN dialing. That's and then IP-based dialing. I think we're now at a scenario where we could be a click away. But I think what Ilya was saying, we got to go down to the user experience level now of being in the conference room. And I loved what he talked about as far as, being able to not have to focus on taking meeting notes for a meeting now and actually focus on the meeting, because sometimes people can be in a meeting, they're sitting down, they're taking notes, but they don't really know what was said. They're more worried about what was typed and how well they were typing. But enabling like live transcription definitely helps a lot. Getting that kind of AI within a meeting room to where people can actually engulf in the meeting and have good, correct, intelligent conversations, as opposed to assuming the role of writing things down or making sure that I have everything framed up correctly and I'm muting people and unmuting people. I think that's where things definitely help out, and ensuring that muscle memory is not have to be used as much, but everything just comes natural.
Yeah, great points, Carl, too, as well, Ilya. Let's just finish up, gentlemen, talking a little bit about the Certified for Microsoft Teams Devices program, things that are very important to everybody here on this call. What does the certification really mean for companies deploying solutions with this designation, and why is it so important?
Yeah, topic that's near and dear to my heart. I've been involved with running that program since I think 2013 or so. Very simply, it means your users are going to have a high quality experience. And there's a lot that goes into that, and it's in a continually evolving program for audio, for video, for room systems. I like to say friends don't let friends use non-certified devices. But in all seriousness, Teams will work with any device, but it will always work best with a certified device, because we have tested that device on everything from audio quality at a certified distance to video quality in different room sizes, lighting conditions, number of people, to making sure that there's firmware updates that come through Windows updates so they can be managed by the IT director and not have some applet that a user has to try to navigate. So to the fact that we can support you because we've replicated that experience, especially for room systems. Yes, you can plug in any USB device into an MTR and it will, or I should say should, work. But when you use certified devices, we have that environment, we've tested it, we know exactly what you're experiencing, and we can support you. So from a user experience perspective, from an IT manageability perspective, from a supportability perspective, certified devices are how we work with companies like you to make sure our customers have an experience that we're proud of and that we stand behind.
And I got to say, it's pretty awesome for Microsoft to have the program, because I mean, from me in a product management perspective, it's like another set of QA tests that we're able to go through and ensure that the quality control is up to par, not only for Microsoft standards, but I mean our own, and validate our own testing. I mean, because when we send, I'm not gonna lie, when we send a camera in to Microsoft certification, it's not like they just throw it into a conference room and say, okay, does it work? Does it work well? Can we make sure all the other users use it? No, we're sending it to a lab where there's like white coats over there that are putting it through different lab environments that have crazy charts that give you, granular breakdowns of different resolutions, different protocols that get pulled up for it. How well does it react with heavy light or low light? I mean, it's pretty intense. And then after that, that's when it goes into the perspective testing that everybody does on a user level. So it's definitely welcome for us, because not only does it help us ensure that the quality is good for tests, for our products, but like what he said before, when it finally gets to the end user, it worked. It's one of those things where, we're not going to have as much of a failure rate in so many different areas because it's already gone through a wide gamut of tests there.
Yeah, and I'll say that the only companies that have said certification doesn't matter are those that are not in our certification program. At the risk of speaking for others, I think every partner that is in our program would say, maybe some more openly like you than others, that certification makes the products better. And for us, we know, by the way, that that'll make the products better for everything you use them with. And that's okay. It's something we contribute to the industry. So, if a certified product works better, has better quality with Zoom because it's certified for Teams, that's all right. Because for us, what's important is that the Teams users have that great experience.
Fantastic. Well, hey, looks like we're out of time. I want to really thank you both, Ilya and Carl. This has been a fascinating conversation on video conferencing. Again, really do appreciate the time and the effort here. And I know Carl and I are looking forward to continuing working with Microsoft, Ilya, and what a great program you guys are running.
For sure. Thank you so much for the partnership. Thank you for the opportunity to record this. And like you said, we look forward to more and more great stuff coming out of the partnership.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.